All right, today we're going to talk about why it's okay for you to buy the first house that you see. Now, first, let me start off by saying it's also okay for you to not buy the first house that you see, right? But that's not the argument in this, in what I'm talking about here. Instead, I'm answering the comment often quoted, never buy the first house that you see. Now, in this market where we are right now, and I'm recording this at the end of 2021, we are in such a crazy fast paced market that it is difficult for buyers because they're often seeing a house and having to make a decision relatively quickly. And that's challenging. And I completely respect that and I understand that. But let's start with understanding, how did this become a phrase that we even listen to and trust? Does that truth play out in every area of life, right? Should we never marry the first person that we date? Should we never buy the first car that we see? Should we never stay friends with the first friend that we make, right? If that were true, high school sweethearts wouldn't exist. Researching pricing and then test driving only one car and buying it would never happen, and lifelong friends would not be a thing, right? So instead of simply saying never buy the first home that you see, instead we should say never buy any house without research, hiring an agent, and making sure it checks the boxes for both your needs in a house and your budget. Right now, I admit that's not as catchy of a phrase, so I doubt that that's going to catch on. But really, the reality is, here's the truth: if you've done your research and you know your budget, and you find a house that checks all the boxes, then buy it. Whether it's the first house you see or not, if it meets the criteria and everything seems to make sense, then go for it. I don't care if it's the first house you've seen or the 100th house you've seen, go for it. If it's the right one, if it fits all of those categories, then absolutely you should pull the trigger on it. I'll tell you a quick story. I had some great friends, Taylor and Caitlin. We were going out to look at homes for the first time ever. And we had a couple houses scheduled. I believe it was 5 houses scheduled. This was years ago, but 5 houses scheduled. We went and looked at one, the very first one. They loved it. They said, you know what, cancel all other ones. Let's buy this one, right? They just loved it. And guess what? Years later, 5 years later, they're still in love with that house. So my point is, it's okay to buy the first house that you see if that first house is the right house. My wife and I did that on our third purchase. And guess what? We still love it. It hit the boxes, had what we needed, fit the budget, so we bought it. And we would have been sad if we followed some arbitrary rule of don't buy the first house you see and someone else came along and purchased it instead of us, right? So don't sleep on these homes that you really love because someone else is going to come and buy it out from under you. So it's okay if you love a house and it fits all the boxes, go ahead and buy it. That's 100% my advice, 100% been the way that I've encouraged people for 8 years in this business to go ahead and make a decision. If it's the right decision, well researched, you've done your homework, you know your numbers, you have a good agent that's going to help you. At the end of the day, consult with your real estate agent, make a wise and thoughtful decision on any house, no matter how many you've seen. But it is okay for you to buy the first house that you see.